Welcome to our session today. Glad you guys were able to make it. It's Thursday, and so the fact that you're here means that you definitely want to hear what we have to offer. And, we truly appreciate it. So today's session is going to be about accelerating healthcare innovation with TriZetto's data-powered approach. And so this session is going to be about deep collaboration, much like you see in the industry. If you know anything about myself, Matt Pearson, I lead our healthcare life sciences business development. One of the things I'm a firm believer in is that great outcomes come from great collaboration. And so that it doesn't matter if it's technology companies working together like Amazon and TriZetto, or it's bio companies working for drug discovery, payers working on closing care gaps, or physicians that are trying to drive patient outcomes. And I bring that up simply because a lot of times in the technology business, we talk about use cases, we talk about innovation, we talk about technology, but at the end of the day, it's about those outcomes and our ability to deliver those. And the only way we're going to continue to change and advance healthcare is through deep collaborations like we have today. And so I'm excited about it simply because two teams and companies got together just 6 months ago, getting to know each other, earn trust between each other. And here we are 6 months later. I almost died, as well as everybody else, trying to get this across the finish line about 2 weeks ago. And so appreciate you guys coming out here today for us to be able to share a little bit about our first milestone and where we are in this partnership and where we're trying to take it. So throughout the session, we'll talk about the agenda here. We'll talk about the complexities faced in the industry between claims management as well as the enrollment process. We'll talk about the specific relationship between AWS and TriZetto and how we're working to solve some of those problems. We'll then talk about some proof points and customer transformations. And then last, we'll talk about the future state. I mentioned this is just a milestone in where we're heading. Based on all the announcements that we had just the last 3 days, I can tell you in advance, the future state is now almost out of date because I had to put my slides together before the announcements. And so, as you can imagine, I have to ingest all the announcements over the last 3 days and completely say like, oh wow, that's completely out of date. So bear with me, be patient on that future state because it is almost like yesterday's state with everything we announced. All right, so let's get started. So first on the claims management. So if you've been in the industry and when you talk about claims management, we've got a lot of challenges. They've been here for quite some time. So first, the increasing complexity of claims and the amount of data, right? So structured, unstructured data in the space in the industry, we're all well aware of it's increasing exponentially, and our ability to leverage that data for insights is almost decreasing. We're not quite there yet. Next, looking at the rising administrative costs, right? So we know that payers have been using legacy systems for years, and that puts a burden on them being able to deliver and pay for the care for their members. And so with those rising costs, we also have the complex regulatory and compliance, never changing or ending between O&C, CMS, federal and state government policies. You couple that with the complex enrollment process, the amount of systems, steps that are taking, as well as these solutions that need to be addressed within the enrollment process. And last is the data accuracy, reconciliation, and integration issues that you see for payers. But much like I mentioned, this is a collaboration, a team sport, if you will. Payers aren't alone in these challenges. Payers are also relying upon our ISVs. ISVs are also very much at a crossroads right now. That crossroads is, how do we migrate from on-premises to cloud? Right? How do we start to ingest some of the latest innovations that we mentioned over the last 2 days and integrate those in, say, like a 3-month sprint? You can't do that with on-premises. You've got high operational costs and infrastructure costs, licensing fees, manual labor that's included in it. You also have limited scalability. Take, for example, the enrollment process, on-prem with the enrollment process. It's very difficult to be able to pull off. And last, there's the disaster recovery and business continuity. Nobody here in the industry is a stranger to that. And last is my favorite, is the data silos and integration challenges, right? We all have data that is somewhere lost in some system, never to be heard from ever again. And so how do we take on these challenges with the deep collaboration between our companies, whether it's for the payer space or within the ISV space? What is our overall goal when we talk about claims management and transforming the enrollment process? So first, it's about automatic claims processing. So ultimate goal is zero-touch claims processing, where claims are automatic, no manual interventions. The data exchange between providers is seamless. The adjudication and pre-adjudication, that data flows. No frustration with your providers, your care teams, as well as the payer teams that are managing those care gaps. The data accuracy and integration, we finally meet the promise of interoperability. Right? One of my biggest complaints around generative AI is we kind of forgot that generative AI at its core is interoperability. Gen AI doesn't mean you get to skip a generation of technology. You still have to drive that interoperability, and that's still a goal when you talk about claims management. Regulatory and compliance, it's always in the back of our heads, whether it's the HIPAA mandates or state and federal compliance. And last, there's that enrollment process, our members. How do we make a better experience for our members that's optimal for automated workflows as well as the approval process? So enough of the framing, right? Let's get right to it while we're all here. By leveraging the combined expertise of TriZetto's deep industry knowledge and AWS's cutting-edge cloud technology, we can create powerful solutions that not only address today's challenges, but also pave the way for future innovations. Now I'm excited to introduce John Wilson, Senior Vice President of Consulting and Services at TriZetto, a Cognizant company. John is here to help share with us what TriZetto is doing to transform their business with AWS, addressing these challenges we've just talked about, as well as what we're going to be doing in the future with this new technology we just released over the last couple of days. John brings a wealth of knowledge over 20 years in the industry, so I'm excited to bring John to the stage and talk about how TriZetto is transforming their business. John.
Thank you, Matt.
My pleasure.
Hi, folks. How are we doing today? We have a conference TriZetto does every year, and we have about 1,000 people. So this 60,000 or whatever it is completely overwhelming. I don't know how you all navigate it. This is my first reInvent, and I'm definitely trying to navigate it. Before I dive into this, just want to get some context for the background that you have. Who works in healthcare now? Okay, good. And of healthcare, how about payer? Okay, and then how about provider? Okay, good. How about one last thing? Hands of people that have heard of TriZetto. Okay, good. All right. Well, so we'll get into this. We are extremely excited to embark on this journey with AWS. We've been working with AWS for many years, and we have a slide on this in a second. But we just announced a new strategic partnership with AWS, and we're very excited because we've been very focused on modernizing and optimizing our applications to have them be more real-time and have better integration with provider systems. But we realize that what we want to do and we want to take on will be easier to do with a partner like AWS and with a partner with a cloud platform, as well as the foundation for the innovation that we want to get into next. So we've been very focused on the automation of, mostly the transaction systems that are in healthcare. And I was at a conference just a few weeks ago in California, which was all the Blue Cross Blue Shield leaders, and they basically said, healthcare, the rise of healthcare costs is unsustainable, and it's not just in the United States, it's in other countries too. We need to do something about it. We got to quit talking about it. We need to collaborate, and we need to start making impact, and I couldn't agree more with them. And so they've launched a number of collaborations, building utilities together, and I think it's really all about how do we get operational costs down, how do we drive more value to the key constituents in healthcare, which is members and providers. We've automated the transaction processing, but how do we get it to be much more real time and much less labor intensive? And we need to make sure systems are up all the time, that they're secure. And then what we're really starting to get into, and one of the things we're really excited about with the AWS relationship is we've built in some kind of data aggregation applications underneath our transaction systems, that do the standard processing of, billing, enrollment, membership, claims, et cetera. And we haven't gotten a lot of traction with it. We have one thing under one of our systems, probably our most popular system is called Facets, and I'll get into that in a minute. But we've built a thing underneath it called Facets Insights, which basically aggregates and collects data. But now, running on the AWS platform, we'll be able to be more easily to aggregate or to collect more data to aggregate from provider systems, et cetera. And we're really excited about what that will mean to allow our clients, to have the data to drive more outcomes. But I want to talk a little bit about the relationship. We've been working with AWS for quite a while, and I should explain who the we is real quick. About 10 years ago, as a matter of fact, we just hit our 10-year anniversary. Fortune 200 company, major consultancy called Cognizant, acquired TriZetto, the software company. It was right about 10 years ago. As Matt mentioned, I'm actually the TriZetto Chief Services Officer, and now we work within Cognizant Healthcare. But the partnership, so TriZetto didn't have a big partnership with AWS, but Cognizant already did. So the Cognizant relationship with AWS preceded the acquisition of TriZetto. And one of the things that's been great about being part of such a massive company like Cognizant is having the connections and the ability to jump in on these types of partnerships, which we've certainly done. But we've been going real big on AWS certifications. In a little while, I'll be introducing Rich Healy, who's one of our chief architects, to go into a little more detail. But we're really excited where all this is headed. I want to talk a little bit about the organization that I run within the Cognizant Healthcare practice, the TriZetto software group within the Cognizant Healthcare practice. We basically take care of all the services around the TriZetto software. We have a number of partners we work with, both services partners, platform partners, and other software company partners. But my practice is about 3,000 people. It's about half in India and half in North America. We're actually starting to do more nearshore too, where we just set up a Mexico City office that we're excited about. But at any given time, we'll have 50, 60 projects going on, and we work really hard to keep them on schedule and on budget. It's not easy to do. I often tell people that deploying our TriZetto core software, core administrative software for payers, is every bit as difficult as and complex as implementing ERP systems. And maybe even harder, I don't know. There was a recent study by PwC that said that 75% of core administrative system transformational replacement projects go off the rails, either off schedule or off budget or both. So it's, we have a lot of other software applications that are more straightforward to implement, but the core systems, getting those core systems on the cloud and getting them better integrated with provider systems, et cetera, is really where we've shifted our focus. So this is a group that I run, and it's a great group. Rich, who will be talking to us in a second, is part of that group. But a little bit about TriZetto, if you're not familiar with TriZetto. We have 4 major software family groups. We have the core software, which is there in the green. We have Facets and we have QNXT. That's our core administrative software that, again, does everything from eligibility and membership and enrollment all the way through claims and capitation. But we also have government systems to work with CMS and the other government agencies, and we actually have to work with most of the state Medicaid programs too. We also have care software that does case management, disease management, utilization management, and then we have provider systems to manage both physicians as well as facilities. And then we have a growing number of what I'd call regulatory compliance solutions. Matt mentioned interoperability. We have a solution for that now. So it's a little hard to keep track of all of this. We've cloud-enabled all of that software now, and we're continuing to focus on some of these, the key tenets, making sure the software is configurable by our clients and our users, migrating to more modern architectures, making sure that we can plug in our software in our clients' end-to-end ecosystems. Got to make sure they can scale. We had a little bit of issue as we moved to the cloud with some of our user interfaces, and we've had to make some adjustments there. And then we're always looking for a way to do our implementations faster, better, cheaper. So that's a little bit about TriZetto. TriZetto's been around for probably 25, 30 years, and we probably have the biggest payer footprint. I think earlier in the week there was a session. The big software company on the provider side is Epic, and they actually had a session earlier in the week because they're the big kind of electronic health record system, and we're kind of the big payer software system. So that's a little bit about our portfolio. Now that with this strategic relationship with AWS, we're very focused on helping our clients migrate to the cloud. We have about 150 clients that run either Facets or QNXT. Right now, about 55 of them are somewhere on the cloud journey, but I'm happy to announce we have 5 of those clients that are live on the AWS cloud. That includes 3 Facets and 2 QNXT. And we have a case study in a minute to talk about actually we'll be talking about 2 of our Facets clients that have done the journey to the cloud. But we've come together with the TriZetto platform and then AWS's managed services group. And what we've been doing as we got ready for the strategic partnership and then after announcing it, we just sat down and said, here are the services we can do, here's the services, the application management managed services that AWS can do. How can we combine these services to serve our clients better? And we're extremely excited on where we are. So first we take the AWS managed services that they have for most software platforms and clients, and we've looked at how can we plug in our software to have the best compliance we can, be most secure, better backup and recovery and disaster recovery, better access and observability, but also really keeping our eyes on cost optimization and automation. And one of the things we've talked a lot about is, we have some clients that don't really have archival and the data quantity management, if you will, as a key priority. And we're now working with them, and AWS has been great to work with on this. How do we get our clients to reduce their data footprint? And we're working on all sorts of interesting things there, such as more use of synthetic data and those types of things. So we start with the AWS managed services, and we're leveraging that with our software. And then we layer onto that TriZetto's application management services onto AWS's managed services. And that's what we've been working on the last few months. We've deployed that, as I said, at these 5 clients. And what's neat about this is that we've had it set up where, we can do it, our clients can do it, and we, kind of figure out the roles in terms of infrastructure management all the way through application management. But it's all about efficiencies. It's all about maximizing the automation. It's all about really making use of the tools that we have. Let's see, there's a couple clients where what's been really interesting is as we've rolled out these application management services, some of our clients are like, well, we're going to go to the cloud, but we're not ready to go to the cloud yet. So can we have these now? So we didn't really expect this. We thought we would be doing most of this on the cloud, but we've actually started deploying our app management services with clients while they're still on-prem. But they're all planning to migrate to the cloud at some point. So as we bring together, AWS Managed Services and TriZetto's application management services, what we're creating is, I think, something that will be really special. It will take our automation and efficiencies to a new level. We'll have better claims processing, more real time. We'll have better integration with provider systems. We'll have allowing our clients to have higher auto adjudication rates, higher first pass rates. We want to make sure that during all the different annual enrollment periods you have for Medicare, Medicaid, commercial business, et cetera, that eligibility dates, it's uncanny that the day one of eligibility dates, a decent percentage of our clients' membership will go to the pharmacy. So we need to make sure when they walk into the pharmacy on day one that everything works and everything is taken care of for those members. So it's really, the key constituent for us and our clients are the members, but we also have providers as a constituent, brokers as a constituent, and group administrators as a constituent as well. So, the first constituent is member. The second big constituent is providers. And we're looking at building out our API library and doing a lot more real-time authorization approvals, real-time claims adjudication, and just trying to get as much efficiency as we can to take care of our providers. And a lot of that is leaning on and taking advantage of the standards that are emerging, particularly fire. We've definitely embraced the fire standards, and it's really allowing us to drive more innovation. So we're going to talk about, we could talk about what we're up to, all day, but let's talk about what we did for a particular customer. As I mentioned, our big core administrative system is called Facets, and we have 3 Facets clients on AWS Cloud right now. 2 of the 3 have embraced our cloud version of our software where they're running in containers, and they're using our new web UI as well. So our first case study is for a large Midwestern Blue Cross Blue Shield plan, and I'm going to let Rich take us through the case study. Rich was the key TriZetto AWS architect for this client.
Can you guys hear me all right? Thank you, John.
You bet.
I was lucky enough to spend probably the last 18 months working with several of our key AWS Facets customers, and I'm going to talk about one in particular. Started last year, with a real challenge that our customer faced. They were a large Blue Cross Blue Shield in the Midwest, over 375,000 lives, and they had a hard deadline where they had to get off their core administration partner system by the end of the year in order to handle their business. Their relationship was ending. Effectively, they had a burning platform, and we had 1 year to get the job done. So it was a net new implementation of Facets, moving from that outsourced relationship back in-house to their AWS account, and that hard deadline to get off that platform. To achieve this, we took advantage of Facets G6 and deployed it on the AWS platform. We made use of several core AWS services, most importantly our containerized EKS services runtime, right? The full Facets and TriZetto product suite was deployed on EKS in an automated fashion. We took advantage of EC2. We make use of FSX for our file system shares. We have a Windows background for our application, so FSX file shares are critical for our processing. Managed RDS services were key for us. We use SQL, managed RDS SQL for this implementation. That allowed us to focus on getting the product implemented and not worrying so much about managing our databases, and introducing Lambda functions for processing and new models of custom integration for our customer, where they're able to use the latest, greatest Amazon integration technologies to solve the integration challenges that come with implementing a system like Facets. In terms of tooling and DevOps automations, we made use of Terraform, PowerShell, GitLab, Python, and Hook that was used for authentication. And we covered the full stack of TriZetto products. Some of these acronyms probably don't mean much to you guys, but they're our bread and butter, essentially covering all domains in the health insurance business, right? When we put in Facets, as John mentions, we touch every domain in the plan, whether it's finance or enrollment or claims. So there's a lot going on, and we've got a robust product suite that we now can successfully deploy in AWS to meet that need. And I'll cut to the chase a little bit for the next slide, right? We were successful, right? I'm going to advance this.
Oh, yeah.
So, we met the challenge. We were able to work with AWS and work with the technology to rapidly implement this health plan. I've been working on our platform for 25 plus years. When I got onto this project, the prospect of getting this done in a year, gave me some pause. But what we learned, right, and what we learned doing our first major EKS Facets G6 deployment on AWS is that there are inherent advantages to driving things first on the cloud, right? Instead of doing click ops and installing the various products and platforms on the various services, we invested heavily in automation, right? Kubernetes, by nature requires that we had to take on and automate with our customers, develop the full IAC pipelines, the full automated deployment structures, and that automation is what allowed us to cut the timeline down, right? We had to deploy 9 environments rapidly, and because we got to push-button automation, we were able to do that in a repeatable, manageable fashion and not waste time. We were able to deploy our QA environments when we needed them, and we were able to get the job done for our customers. The other lesson learned, and something that we'd seen at existing customers, there's often a lot of sprawl and variance in their existing on-prem environments. Some clients have some components, other environments have other components. We found that if we could standardize, hey, everything's cookie cutter, everything has all components everywhere, everything is deployed in the same way, we could write that ISE once and be done with it, right? So that we could leverage it across the other environments. And the lesson learned is that with automation and standardization, we can dramatically improve our implementation times, get it done quickly and efficiently the first time. And as a result, we're able to achieve, some of the best performance throughputs that I've seen, in my 25 years, right? We were able to do 2.4 million claims per hour across 96 of our claims engines. Those are huge numbers. That was a claims conversion case. I think it's the fastest number I've ever seen, and we're very proud of it. So overall, AWS allowed us to work with our customer to hit the mark and radically transform, get them into the cloud, get them up and running, hit their business needs.
Can you talk a little bit about what we've been working on with AWS since then relative to reference architecture?
Sure. It's been a pleasure. So coming off this successful implementation, right, we worked and we took those lessons learned. We collaborated with the AWS team. We started meeting at about the July timeframe. We had models, we had standards, right? But working with Matt's teams, with the AWS team, we've been able to take everything that AWS knows about how to manage AWS, right, and how to deploy AWS, with our knowledge of managing our applications to really pioneer, I think, some great solution architecture, deployment architectures, and start to advance our shared vision of this next future state. So I've been happy to be able to spend the time to collaborate on that architecture in the context of the well-architected framework and some of the maturity of process that AWS brings to the table. It's been a pleasure to collaborate with them, and we've made great progress.
Great. Thanks, Rich.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
I don't need that.
You don't need it.
You need that.
I'll keep it.
Okay. So that was actually our. Let me think about this for a second. That was actually our second Facets implementation on AWS. Our first one was with a health plan in Pennsylvania called Geisinger. They're an interesting health plan because they're both a payer and a provider. They have a health plan, a Geisinger health plan. They run our software Facets, and they've recently migrated to AWS. Phil Nijeko is the senior director in IT at Geisinger Health Plan. He was great to work with and was really excited about moving to AWS. And this is a quote that we just got from him actually a few days ago. I was up in Danville visiting with the Geisinger people a few weeks ago, and as I mentioned earlier, over on the hospital side, they run Epic. And I think they had a session earlier this week talking about their Epic journey to to the cloud, and now we took them with the TriZetto software, not just Facets. They have 4 or 5 other of our solutions, and we moved that all to AWS. But it was a grind. It was 18 months. We look at 12 to 24 months to do this, but you can see the results have been really good. When you look at Phil's quote, they're happy with the scalability, they're happy with the performance, and it's definitely where they want to be relative to where they were when they were on-prem. And now one of the things that we're working on, and we call it, we're rolling it out right now, it's called Unify, and it's the more standard integration between payer systems and provider systems, and we'll be working with Geisinger as we get better connectivity between payer and provider systems, something that really should have been embarked on a long time ago, but that's kind of the next step for us. So as we move into kind of future state, one of the future states is working with AWS is having that foundation for better innovation. We've really jumped in with both feet into generative AI, AI and machine learning. I've set up within my group innovation lab, and we're looking at, as I mentioned earlier, leveraging synthetic data. We probably have 100 use cases now for generative AI, and we just feel it's going to be much more straightforward to do that, working with a partner like AWS. So as we excitedly look forward to this strategic partnership with AWS, these are some of the things that we're looking to leverage to help be part of shaping healthcare and the healthcare payer and provider processes to be more cost effective and to hopefully bend the curve a little bit, because these rising healthcare costs are not sustainable. And obviously in the United States, we have a new administration coming in next month, and some interesting choices, I'll say, in terms of the leaders who will be leading Medicare and Medicaid and those programs. So we're expecting more change. We're expecting different regulatory situations, and we have to be able to react to them very quickly. And I think we'll be able to do that with our clients as they migrate to the cloud environment. So we want to take care of some of take advantage, of some of the AWS tools, such as Bedrock and SageMaker. We want to look at every opportunity we can to reduce the costs of our operations, with the eye on the constituents, our clients' constituents, members, providers, brokers, and the group administrators. So we're really excited about where we're headed. We've had two or three sessions this week with various AWS folks as we figure out how we take this next step in the journey, and how we can really drive better transparency for those, because we all use healthcare, right? And it's a frustrating situation because the specialists don't talk well enough to the primary care physicians, and they're not talking properly with the payers. And I think we're in a great position working with AWS to bring all that together better and improve the communication. So with that, I appreciate everyone's time today. And Matt, any wrap-up comments?
I'm just going to close this out, going back to where I started, and that's the power of collaboration, right? To think we came just 6 months ago to where we currently are, you can see not on what we're delivering here. You heard about the future state. I think 2025 as a whole is going to be a reflection of how do we take a lot of these technologies we just launched over the last 3 days, integrate those, and so that a year from now, you can see the level of commitment we have to this collaboration, recognizing this is probably more of like a call to action for everybody here, right? Because we say healthcare life sciences, we say our data shouldn't be siloed, and yet healthcare is siloed from payers, payers are siloed from med devices, and they're siloed from bio. And the only way we can solve all of these challenges is if we have courageous technologists as well as our providers and our payers working together. And so if anything, it's like AWS is on a mission to solve some of these things. But as technologists, we also recognize we cannot and will not do it alone. And so that's why we wanted this relationship with Cognizant TriZetto. This is why we're focused on the payer space and how do we improve that communication with our providers. So help us, right? Be it whatever org or domain that you're in, my call to action is help us to continue these outcomes and driving those and shifting the conversation beyond just the technology itself, but the outcomes and the new drugs that are discovered and the gaps that we close or the equity that we're able to provide, because ultimately that's the goal. We should never take our eyes off of that. Thank you guys for your time today, TriZetto team. It's been a pleasure over the next 6 months. And as I mentioned, in a year from now, I hope to see you guys back as we talk about some of the new products that we'll be launching. Thank you for your time. Safe travels home.